I was once a devoted husband of 18 years to Laura and a proud father to our 20-year-old daughter Amanda. Our home was filled with warmth and laughter until something shifted. Amanda returned from college with new progressive ideas that seemed to fascinate Laura. I started noticing hushed conversations between them that would stop when I entered the room. Then one evening over dinner, Laura dropped a bombshell that shattered my world. She wanted an open marriage. Before I tell you how my own daughter betrayed me, let me know where you are watching from in the comments below, and hit that subscribe button if you have ever felt blindsided by the people you trust most. The construction business I built from nothing had always been my pride. Working with my hands, creating something tangible, and providing for my family gave me purpose. I met Laura at a friend's barbecue when we were both 22, and I knew immediately she was the one. Her bright eyes and genuine laugh captivated me from the start. We married within a year, and Amanda came along shortly after. Our life was not perfect, but it was ours built on mutual respect and love. Over the 18 years of our marriage, Laura and I had our ups and downs like any couple. The passion that once burned bright had dimmed somewhat in recent years, but I attributed that to the natural evolution of a long-term relationship. We had settled into a comfortable rhythm, or at least that is what I thought, until Amanda came home from her first year at State University. My daughter had always been Daddy's little girl. We would spend weekends fishing at Lake Thompson, and she would help me in my workshop building birdhouses and small furniture pieces. Amanda had my eyes, and Laura's smile a perfect blend of both of us. She was raised with traditional values, understanding the importance of family hard work and commitment. That was why her transformation after just 1 year away at college blindsided me completely. When Amanda returned home that summer, she arrived with a completely different worldview. Suddenly, everything I stood for was outdated. My beliefs were conservative, restrictive, and according to her, problematic. She spoke about deconstructing societal norms and exploring identities in ways that made little sense to me. I tried to engage with her ideas respectfully, but often found myself feeling like a relic from another era in my own home. The first warning signs appeared when I noticed Laura's new wardrobe. Clothes that were more revealing than anything she had worn in years suddenly filled her closet. When I complimented her, she seemed pleased, but in a way that felt different, as though my approval was not her primary concern anymore. Then came the secretive texting. Laura would quickly put her phone away whenever I entered the room. At first I brushed it off, not wanting to seem controlling or paranoid. Perhaps she was planning a surprise for our upcoming anniversary. I wanted to believe the best. What troubled me most was how Amanda seemed to encourage whatever change was happening in Laura. One evening I overheard them talking in the kitchen while I was coming downstairs. Amanda was saying, "Mom, you deserve to explore your options. Marriage should not be a prison." When they noticed me, the conversation abruptly shifted to dinner plans. That night I lay awake wondering what options my daughter thought her mother should be exploring. The seed of doubt had been planted, and it grew with each passing day. I tried to maintain harmony in our home despite the growing tension. When Amanda would make comments about how marriage was an outdated institution designed to control women, I would gently push back, explaining that commitment was about mutual support and love, not control. Laura, who once would have agreed with me, now remained silent during these exchanges, sometimes nodding along with Amanda's radical ideas. Our first serious argument came when Amanda showed Laura an article about couples who had opened their marriages to other partners. I expressed my discomfort with the conversation, which led to Amanda rolling her eyes dramatically. "Dad, you are so closed-minded," she said. "Mom deserves to experience everything life has to offer." "And what exactly do you mean by that?" I asked, looking to Laura for support that never came. Instead, Laura responded, "Ron, she is just talking about ideas." No need to get defensive. I felt confused and hurt by Laura's response. Why was she defending Amanda's disrespect toward our marriage, instead of standing united with me? Something was shifting in our family dynamic, and the ground beneath my feet felt increasingly unstable. The night everything changed began like any other family dinner. I had prepared Laura's favorite lasagna, hoping to reconnect with my wife, after feeling the growing distance between us. Amanda joined us immediately, dominating the conversation with stories from college and her new friend's adventures. Then, without warning, she shifted the topic. "I was listening to this fascinating podcast about ethical non-monogamy," Amanda announced casually, as though discussing the weather. "It is amazing how many couples are realizing that exclusivity is just a social construct that limits human connection." I nearly choked on my water. "That sounds like a fancy term for cheating," I responded, trying to keep my tone light despite my discomfort. Amanda rolled her eyes. "God, Dad, that is so reductive." It is about honest communication and expanding the capacity for love. Right, Mom. What happened next felt like watching a car crash in slow motion. Instead of changing the subject or gently redirecting our daughter, Laura nodded enthusiastically. Actually, I found that podcast really interesting too, Laura said, avoiding my gaze. They made some compelling points about how traditional marriage can sometimes feel restrictive. My fork clattered against my plate. Are you serious right now? Our marriage feels restrictive to you. The conversation deteriorated from there. Laura became defensive, claiming I was overreacting. Amanda kept interjecting with comments about how I was proving their point by being controlling. I felt ambushed in my own home by the two people I loved most. A week later, Laura approached me while I was paying bills in our home office. Her hands were fidgeting, a nervous habit she had since I met her. Something was coming, and I braced myself. I have been thinking a lot about what Amanda brought up, she began cautiously. About opening our marriage, just to see, just to explore. The room seemed to tilt sideways. My wife of 18 years was actually suggesting we see other people while remaining married. The very foundation of our relationship was being questioned. Where is this coming from, Laura? Are you unhappy with me? With us, I asked, my voice barely steady. It is not that simple, she replied. I love you, Ron, but I got married so young. Sometimes I wonder what I missed out on. Amanda helped me see that I deserved to find out. The mention of our daughter's involvement felt like a second betrayal. Amanda put you up to this. Our 20-year-old daughter is giving you marriage advice now. Laura's face hardened. She has opened my eyes to possibilities I never considered. She understands me in ways you do not even try to. That night, unable to sleep, I checked Laura's phone while she was in the shower. My hands shook as I discovered she had already downloaded multiple dating apps with several conversations already in progress. The profile pictures showed a woman I barely recognized, sultry and available. The bio read married, but exploring. Husband knows. That last part was news to me. When confronted, Laura admitted Amanda had helped her set up the profiles and coached her on what to write. My daughter had been actively encouraging her mother to pursue other men, all while I was trying to figure out what was happening to my family. I feel trapped, Laura said during our heated discussion. If you love me, you will at least try this. Otherwise, I will always wonder what could have been. It was an ultimatum disguised as a request. Backed into a corner and terrified of losing my wife completely, I reluctantly agreed to discuss some ground rules, hoping this was just a phase that would pass once Laura realized what she was risking. Meanwhile, Amanda's excitement about her mother's liberation, as she called it, was palpable. She would come home from her summer job and immediately ask Laura about her matches and messages. They would giggle together like schoolgirls, completely dismissive of my feelings or presence. I had become an outsider in my own marriage with my own daughter, as the architect of my exclusion. Dad, you should be happy that Mom is rediscovering herself. Amanda told me one evening when Laura was upstairs changing for a girls' night out that I now suspected was something else entirely. By dating other men, how exactly is that supposed to make me happy, I asked. Amanda sighed dramatically as though explaining something to a child. Because her happiness should be your priority. That is what real love is. Supporting someone's journey of self-discovery, even when it is uncomfortable for you. I wondered when my 20-year-old daughter had become such an expert on love and marriage, and why she was so invested in dismantling her parents' relationship. What I could not see, then blinded by hurt, was that Amanda was not the mastermind I imagined her to be. She was a vessel for ideas she barely understood, wielding them like weapons, without comprehending their real-world consequences. His name was Jackson, 6'4" with salt and pepper hair, and the kind of confidence that comes from old money and an Ivy League education, a corporate lawyer who traveled frequently and owned a condo downtown. Everything about him represented what I was not. Where I built things with my hands, he crafted arguments with his words. Where I saved carefully for our future, he spent lavishly on the present. He was the embodiment of the road not taken in Laura's life. I discovered Jackson's existence when I overheard Amanda and Laura talking about him in excited whispers. Laura had matched with him on one of her dating apps, and apparently they had hit it off immediately through messages and phone calls. He wants to take me to Bellini's for dinner Friday night, Laura said, referring to an upscale Italian restaurant where I had once taken her for our 10th anniversary. We had saved for months for that special occasion. You have to wear that new black dress, Amanda advised, and the silver earrings I got you for Mother's Day. Neither of them acknowledged me, standing in the doorway, a ghost in my own home. I cleared my throat, and they looked up momentarily startled before exchanging glances. "Ron, I was going to tell you." Laura began, her tone more defensive than apologetic. "Jackson asked me to dinner and I said yes. We agreed to this, remember? We had agreed to discuss dating other people. We had not established any actual rules, nor had I given my blessing." But looking at Laura's face alight with excitement I had not seen in years, the words of protest died in my throat. Amanda jumped in. "Dad, this is good for Mom. For both of you, really. New experiences make people appreciate what they have." The night of Laura's date, Amanda helped her mother get ready. I heard them laughing upstairs while I sat alone in the living room nursing a beer and wondering how my life had unraveled so quickly. When Laura came downstairs, she looked beautiful in a way that cut me to the core. She had spent more time preparing for this stranger than she had for any evening with me in recent memory. "Do not wait up," she said, kissing my cheek quickly. The familiar scent of her perfume was overshadowed by something new she must have purchased for the occasion. The hours crawled by as I sat alone, imagining my wife laughing across a candlelit table with another man. Amanda had gone out with friends purposely, I suspected, to avoid witnessing my misery. Just after midnight, I heard the door open and close softly. Laura's heels clicked across the hardwood floor, and I braced myself for whatever came next. Her face was flushed, eyes bright. "You are still up," she said, sounding both surprised and slightly annoyed. "How was it?" I asked, hating the question even as it left my mouth. "It was nice," she replied, removing her earrings. "Jackson is interesting, easy to talk to." Over the next 2 weeks, Laura saw Jackson 3 more times. Each date seemed to last longer than the previous. My wife was slipping away from me, and my daughter was holding the door open for her exit. Then came the moment that broke me completely. I was in the kitchen making coffee when Laura approached, dressed in her weekend loungewear but with her hair and makeup carefully done. She seemed nervous, which immediately set off alarm bells. "I need to talk to you about something," she began, her voice unnaturally even. "Jackson has invited me to go away with him next weekend, to his cabin upstate, just for one night." The coffee mug slipped from my hand, shattering on the tile floor. Neither of us moved to clean it up. "You want to spend the night with him," I said flatly. Not a question. "Yes," Laura replied, meeting my eyes for the first time. "I do. We have this connection, Ron. I need to see where it goes." "Where it goes is you sleeping with another man while your husband sits at home knowing exactly what is happening," I responded, my voice rising despite my efforts to remain calm. "Is that really what you want?" Before Laura could answer, Amanda walked in. She had clearly been listening from the hallway. "Dad, you are being controlling right now," she interjected. "Mom is being honest about her feelings. Why are you trying to make her feel guilty for that?" I stared at my daughter in disbelief. "Amanda, this is between your mother and me. This is our marriage." "A marriage should not be a prison," Amanda fired back, using the same phrase I had overheard weeks ago. "If you truly love Mom, you will want her to be fulfilled, even if that means letting her explore this connection with Jackson." I looked from my daughter to my wife, feeling completely outnumbered and manipulated. Without another word, I walked out of the kitchen upstairs to our bedroom and closed the door. For the first time in my adult life, I broke down completely, sobbing into a pillow so they would not hear me. Later that day, while searching for an important document in our home office, I discovered printouts of text messages between Amanda and Laura. My hands trembled as I read my daughter's words. "Dad is the obstacle to your happiness, Mom. He is so stuck in his outdated views. Jackson could give you what Dad never could." That night, Laura packed an overnight bag for her upcoming weekend with Jackson. She made no attempt to hide her preparations, selecting lingerie I had never seen before, and placing it carefully between folded clothes. I watched silently from the doorway, a hollow feeling spreading through my chest. "Amanda is going to drive me to meet Jackson on Friday," Laura informed me, not looking up from her packing. "We will be back Saturday evening." "And I am just supposed to be okay with this?" I asked. Laura finally looked at me, her expression a mix of determination and something that might have been guilt. "I need this, Ron. I need to know if what I am feeling is real, or just some midlife crisis fantasy. Can you understand?" That I could not understand. I could not comprehend how the woman who had promised to love me exclusively for the rest of our lives was now asking for my blessing to sleep with another man. Nor could I understand how our daughter had become an active participant in the dismantling of her parents' marriage. The final argument came Thursday night. Laura was finalizing details with Jackson via text, smiling at her phone in a way she no longer smiled at me. "So, that is it. 18 years of marriage and you are throwing it away for a guy you just met," I asked, unable to contain my pain any longer. I am not throwing anything away, Laura insisted. This could make our marriage stronger. Many couples find that opening their relationship actually improves their connection. Those talking points sound exactly like Amanda, I said bitterly. Are you even thinking for yourself anymore, or just parroting our daughter's progressive relationship theories? The argument escalated until Amanda intervened again, accusing me of emotional manipulation and toxic masculinity. My own daughter defending her mother's infidelity using buzzwords she had barely understood a year ago. As Laura left with Amanda the next day, overnight bag in hand, I stood in the driveway watching them drive away. The two women I loved most in the world united in their betrayal of everything I thought we stood for as a family. After they left, I sat alone in our empty house for hours, cycling through anger, grief, and self-pity. The silence was deafening. Every corner held memories of the life we had built together, a life that was now crumbling before my eyes. Around midnight, something shifted inside me. A moment of clarity pierced through the fog of despair. I remembered who I was before all this began. A man who had built a successful business from nothing. A man who had values and self-respect. A man who deserved better than what was happening to him. I called my oldest friend Frank, who answered despite the late hour. I poured out everything that had happened over the past months. The manipulation, the betrayal, the impossible position I had been put in. "Ron, buddy, you are being played," Frank said bluntly after listening to my story. "Your wife and daughter have tag-teamed you into a corner where you lose no matter what. If you say no to this open marriage nonsense, you are the controlling villain. If you go along with it, you are disrespecting yourself and enabling behavior that is destroying your marriage. So what do?" I asked, desperate for direction. "Stop reacting and start acting," Frank advised. "Take back your power. Show them both that you are not just going to sit around waiting for Laura to come home from her little adventure. You deserve better than this, and deep down they both know it." That conversation was the wake-up call I needed. Instead of wallowing in misery waiting for my wife to return from her tryst with Jackson, I made a decision to reclaim my dignity and self-worth. First, I called a financial advisor I had been meaning to consult for months about some investments. I scheduled a Saturday morning appointment, the exact time Laura was supposed to return. Then I booked a room at the Grand Hotel downtown, the luxury property where Laura had always wanted to stay for a special occasion. I used money from my personal savings account funds I had been setting aside for a surprise family vacation for our 20th anniversary. After packing a small bag, I texted both Laura and Amanda the same message. "Taking some time to think. Will be unreachable until tomorrow evening." Then I turned off my phone completely. For the first time in months, I felt a sense of control returning. I was no longer just reacting to their actions. I was charting my own course. The next morning, I treated myself to a professional haircut and style at an upscale barbershop. The barber suggested trimming my beard as well, giving me a more refined look than my usual DIY maintenance. Afterward, I purchased new clothes, something I rarely did for myself. Nothing flashy, just well-fitted jeans and shirts that actually complemented my build instead of the functional work clothes I typically wore. My meeting with the financial advisor was eye-opening. She helped me understand options for protecting my assets and planning for different future scenarios. I had been avoiding this conversation out of fear, but facing it head-on gave me a sense of preparedness I badly needed. That evening, I checked into the Grand Hotel. The room overlooked the city lights, a view Laura would have loved. I ordered room service, took a long shower in the marble bathroom, and slept better than I had in weeks in the king-sized bed with its luxurious sheets. I turned my phone back on late Sunday afternoon to find dozens of increasingly panicked messages from both Laura and Amanda. Their initial annoyance at my absence had evolved into concern when I remained unreachable. The final messages showed genuine worry about my well-being. I texted them both. "Coming home soon. We need to talk." When I walked through the front door of our house at 7 p.m. Sunday evening, Laura and Amanda were sitting together on the living room couch, both looking up with expressions of relief that quickly turned to surprise. The man who stood before them was not the defeated husband and father they had left behind. My new haircut clothes, and most importantly, the calm confidence in my posture, reflected the internal shift that had taken place. "Where have you been?" Laura demanded, her voice wavering between anger and concern. "We have been worried sick." "I needed time to think," I replied calmly, "just like you needed time with Jackson." Amanda started to interject with what sounded like the beginning of a lecture, but I held up my hand, stopping her mid-sentence. "Before either of you say anything else, I want you to know that things are going to be different moving forward," I said, my voice steady and resolved. I have allowed both of you to manipulate and disrespect me for months now. That ends today." I sat down across from them, maintaining eye contact. "Laura, I love you. I have loved you faithfully for 18 years. But I will not be in a marriage where I am considered an obstacle to your happiness, or where my feelings are treated as irrelevant. And Amanda, I will always be your father, but I am not your friend's backwards husband who needs enlightening. I am your dad, and I deserve your respect." The stunned silence that followed told me they had never expected this response. They had prepared for anger, for pleading, for guilt trips, but not for calm, dignified boundaries. "What are you saying, Ron?" Laura finally asked, her voice small. "I am saying that I refuse to participate in the destruction of our marriage. If you want an open relationship, you will have to do it as a single woman. But if you want to work on us to rebuild what we once had, I am all in. Those are the only two options I am offering." Laura's eyes filled with tears. For the first time in months, they seemed to be tears of regret rather than frustration with me. "You seem different," she whispered. "I am different," I confirmed. "These past few days have shown me that I have value on my own, not just as your husband or Amanda's father. I deserve to be treated with respect and consideration, and I will not accept anything less going forward." The aftermath of that Sunday evening confrontation changed the trajectory of our family forever. First and most immediately, Laura called Jackson that same night to cancel their planned second rendezvous. I sat beside her as she made the call, not out of controlling impulse, but because she asked me to be there, a silent witness to her recommitment to our marriage. The conversation with Amanda was more difficult. The next morning, I asked her to join me for breakfast at the local diner away from the charged atmosphere of our home. Once seated with coffee between us, I placed my phone on the table screen up, showing the screenshots I had taken of her text messages about me being the obstacle to her mother's happiness. "I want to understand why you were so determined to push your mother toward another man," I said gently. "This hurt me deeply, Amanda, not just as your father, but as a person who deserves basic respect." My daughter's face crumpled the sophisticated college student facade, giving way to reveal the uncertain young woman beneath. "I thought I was helping Mom," she admitted, tears forming. "At school, everyone talks about how traditional marriage is restrictive, especially for women. My professor said women of Mom's generation were often trapped by societal expectations before they could discover themselves. I thought I was liberating her, by encouraging her to betray the commitments she made freely, by treating me like an outdated inconvenience rather than a person with feelings," I asked, keeping my tone even despite the pain recalling those messages caused. Amanda looked down at her untouched pancakes. "I never thought about how it would affect you," she said quietly. "That sounds horrible now that I say it out loud. I just got so caught up in these new ideas and being progressive and enlightened that I stopped seeing you as my dad and started seeing you as this symbol of the patriarchy or whatever. I am so sorry." That conversation was the first step in rebuilding my relationship with my daughter. It was not a quick fix, but it opened a door that had seemed firmly closed. Back at home, Laura and I agreed that professional help was necessary. I scheduled our first marriage counseling session for the following week, making it clear this was non-negotiable if we were to move forward together. To my surprise, Laura readily agreed, even expressing relief that someone objective would help us navigate the damage that had been done. During our third counseling session, Laura broke down completely while trying to explain what had driven her actions. "I was terrified of getting older," she admitted through tears. Watching the younger women at my office getting attention, hearing Amanda talk about all the options her generation has, I felt invisible and irrelevant. When Amanda suggested opening our marriage, it seemed like a way to prove I was still desirable, still vital. The therapist helped us see how Amanda's well-intentioned but misguided influence had tapped into Laura's existing insecurities. My wife had not suddenly become a different person. She had been vulnerable and received terrible advice from our daughter, who lacked the life experience to understand the potential consequences of her progressive theories. For my part, I had to acknowledge my role in our marital drift. I had grown comfortable taking Laura's presence and affection for granted. Years of predictable routines and unspoken expectations had created a void that made Laura susceptible to the excitement of novelty. The rebuilding process was neither quick nor easy. There were setbacks and difficult conversations, moments when the pain felt fresh all over again. But there were also breakthroughs, like the night Laura told me that her brief experience with Jackson had ultimately highlighted what she valued in our relationship. "He was exciting because he was new," she explained. "But he did not know me, not really. There was no history, no shared struggles or victories. It was all surface-level connection, while what we have has roots." 6 months after that fateful weekend, our family dynamic had transformed. Laura and I had rediscovered each other, making intentional efforts to nurture our connection. Date nights became sacred, and we found new activities to enjoy together, from cooking classes to weekend hikes. The physical aspect of our relationship rekindled with a depth that surprised us both. Amanda had returned to school with a more balanced perspective. Our conversations became more respectful, with genuine exchanges of ideas rather than one-sided lectures. She even called me one evening to say she had challenged her social theory professor on the real-world implications of deconstructing family structures, without considering the emotional toll. I told him that theory is one thing, but families are made of real people with real hearts that can be broken, she reported proudly. He actually asked me to expand on that in our next discussion group. The most profound change, however, was within myself. Through this ordeal, I discovered my own resilience and worth. I learned that loving someone does not mean becoming a doormat for their every whim or experiment. True love includes boundaries and self-respect. Standing up for myself had not driven Laura away as I had feared. Instead, it had renewed her respect and attraction. Life continues to present challenges, as it always will, but now we face them as a united family, wiser for having nearly lost what matters most. I learned that maintaining your dignity even when those closest to you fail to honor it is not just about pride. It is about holding space for the relationship to heal on foundations of mutual respect. What is your take on handling betrayal from the people you love most? Have you ever had to rebuild trust in a relationship that seemed beyond repair? Share your stories in the comments below, and do not forget to like, subscribe, and share this video if my journey resonated with you. Sometimes our most painful experiences contain the seeds of our greatest growth. Thank you for listening, and I wish you the strength to stand in your truth, whatever challenges you might be facing in your own relationships.